feel like you're drowning in a sea of fonts, colors, and design options? Nothing feels quite right. There's so many different options out there of how your brand could look and feel, and you love so many different things and you keep coming across stuff you love. But it all just feels so stressful to try and actually narrow things down and create your own brand identity. Now, before we dive in, if you're struggling with your branding, you'll find my free workbook really helpful. The 4-step process to go from vision to visuals. This will walk you through the steps that you need to take to create a really strong brand identity. So if that's something you're stuck on, make sure you check out the link below and download that. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 simple steps to break free of branding overwhelm and finally create a brand identity that feels like the perfect fit for your business. Branding doesn't have to feel stressful. With the right approach, it can be an exciting and fun part of working on your business. So first of all, people have a tendency to get overwhelmed by aesthetics. They go on Pinterest, start coming across all these things that they love. They find all the brands they love. They're like, oh, there's all these different styles I love, all these different directions. I want to use all these different colors and I just can't narrow down what I should use because there's just so many different styles and looks out there, so many things that appeal to me. How can I narrow down and actually find an aesthetic that is right for my brand? The thing that a lot of people forget to focus on is actually what your brand stands for. What is the message that you're trying to convey? Your brand aesthetics and style actually communicate a message about your brand. So if you're not first getting clear about what that message is, you're always going to feel lost with the style. So before you go making mood boards and looking for visual inspiration, I want you to take a step back and actually think what it is that you want your brand to communicate. What does your brand actually stand for? What is its core message? So this could include things like your brand values, what you offer, who your audience is, your why, your mission, all those things that make up the story of your brand, the things that you want your brand to actually communicate. If you don't know what your brand's communicating, of course you're going to feel lost in the style. You're going to be chasing after styles you love, and then you're going to constantly get stuck in a rebranding cycle because your likes are going to be changing all the time. Trends are going to be changing all the time. So if you chase an aesthetic based on what you currently like or what's just trending right now or what caught your eye that day, then you're constantly going to feel dissatisfied, and you'll also find that you won't be attracting the right people because your brand isn't expressing the right message to the right people. Instead, it just looks nice. It's like a flower with no roots. It looks really pretty, but it's just going to wilt. It's not going to last. Whereas if your flower has really good roots, it's going to stand strong longer. So once you've got that core message nailed, the next step is to keep your branding elements simple. Don't overwhelm yourself to begin with. Start off simple. Start off with your logo, your colors, and your fonts, and then you can build from there. If you start off thinking, oh, I've got to create icons, I've got to create patterns, I've got to create all these graphic elements, you can easily overwhelm yourself with all these different ideas and different directions you can go. Start with the basics of a brand, a simple, nice brand, and then build from there as you find that you need different things. So if you're finding that you're struggling with branding overwhelm, the best thing to do is simplify. Create a really good logo, choose just 2 fonts, and create a simple color palette. Not too many colors, don't go over the top. And start working with that. Start creating some test graphics and see how you go. You don't have to put it out into the world yet or anything like that, but just test it out. How does that look? Are you starting to find that you need other elements? And then you can build on it from there. You can start working on some things and realize, actually, I really do need a brand pattern for these things that I'm creating, or I do need a few extra brand elements or some icons. And as you start to find those gaps of the things you need, you can work on them. And then it's going to feel less overwhelming because you're not trying to create this huge brand identity all at once. You're starting with the basics, then finding the needs of what other elements you need. Some of the most simplest brands are the most memorable and effective, so don't feel like you're selling yourself short starting simple. See it as a way to get yourself started, feel empowered in your brand, and feel confident about the brand you've created. Don't try to create something super complex if the idea of trying to work on your brand feels like a lot of work. If you can nail a really beautiful but simple brand, you're going to start to feel really confident about your brand identity and being able to put it out in the world because it will look professional, it will be sending that right message, communicating the right thing to the right people, and you can build on it over time. Now the final step is creating a brand guideline. So this is a document that's really going to help you stay consistent and cohesive with your branding so you don't accidentally stray, start adding in things that aren't part of your brand. You're really clear about how your brand identity looks, looks and how it should be used. So that even includes rules, like saying this color can only be used for these particular things and not this. This logo always needs this much space around it, things like that. And by giving yourself those boundaries of this is how my brand should look, this is how it should be used, you're going to feel more confident creating graphics, and you're also going to build a brand that feels consistent and cohesive, and you're going to feel like every time you create something for your brand that you know what you're doing. You don't feel lost. You're not like, oh, what was that hex code again? And what color was I using? And what font should I be using for this? Instead, you've got a guideline there to keep you on track. And if you want to learn more about creating a brand style guide, you can check out my video on creating a brand style guide here. So remember, if you've been feeling overwhelmed with your brand, if you've been constantly stuck in that rebrand cycle and you just can't find brand direction, it feels stressful and overwhelming to work on your branding, start with these 3 simple steps. Get clear on your brand message, create a simple brand that you can build on over time, and create brand guidelines so that you have direction and you have a clear outline of how your brand should look. Then you're going to feel much more in control, much more confident in your brand, and you're going to create a consistent look and feel that's going to attract the right people and you're going to feel proud of. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe to learn more about branding, graphic design, and using Canva. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.